Hey pizza lovers, I'm Dick, and I'm here to announce the grand opening of my brand new pizzeria, Dick's Pizza. Not sure how much dicks you can handle? No sweat, because even our smallest dicks are 10 inches long. Pardon? There's a bunch of dicks at your door, we deliver.
So get off your computer and eat dicks.
For more information, click here. It's big and it's gooey, it's saucy and it's chewy. What's in my mouth? It's gotta be dicks.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lord Stompy here on Beardy's channel, and this is your Christmas and New Year's special. Nice guitar, Beardy. I'll just put it down here. Oh boy. Hey, how you guys going? Lord Stompy here in Adelaide, South Australia on Beardy's channel, and this year we're doing your Christmas special. As you guys probably know, we do a lot of exposing of the dark, deep and underworld state of things. And when you talk about the underworld, or the black, devious, mischievous and covert things going on in our modern society today, you've got to realize that as above, so below. And because the world is run by a satanic system that believes in as above, so below, as you shall reap, this is what you shall sow. So before we roll into this, I'm wishing everybody out there a very, very Christian, a very merry and a very hopeful Christmas and New Year, because our Saviour is risen, and everything that we do in this world, even though it is of great importance, nothing we do in this mortal physical world is important as God's world to come. Amen. So now let's roll with this show. I got the special stuff out the way, and I want to tell you guys about some aspects of our entertainment industry. I'm a musician, Beardy's a musician, and I make my full living being a musician. I've been outcast from the general liberal musical community because I talk about the satanic agendas that run our world, that run our entertainment industry. And bearing that in mind, I want to talk about one of the most underreported aspects of the entertainment industry. Almost no conspiracy researchers have talked about this. So we are going to be talking as an extra special treat for your Christmas and New Year's. We're going to be talking about SiriusXM. Now, SiriusXM is the satellite radio monopoly that is the only satellite radio broadcasting station for America, for Canada, and for much of Central America. And we're going to be looking at the grip that SiriusXM has over the public imagination. It is part of the military-industrial complex, is part of NASA, is part of the American sporting complex, and it is one of the biggest media organizations in the world, and it's completely tied in to everything deep state, militaristic, and absolutely subversive that you can imagine. And yet nobody has talked about this. No one's talked about the founders of SiriusXM. And believe me, the people who founded SiriusXM, they're not normal people. And part one, I'm going to be talking about SiriusXM, its role with the deep state, its role with the US military, its role with NASA, its role with popular culture, its role with everything from hardcore heavy metal from Pantera through to the Howard Stern show. All these people are deeply invested with SiriusXM satellite radio to the tune of millions and millions of dollars. And in my second part, which hopefully will BD and myself will release before New Year's, the second part I'll be focusing on one of the founders of SiriusXM, who is basically one of the heads of the snake that no one has talked about. And this founder of SiriusXM, Martin Rothblatt, is a transvestite Jew who's also was one of the world record highest paid CEOs in 2013. She made $38 million. She's not just invested in SiriusXM, she's also deeply invested in biopharmaceuticals, artificial intelligence, and a whole bunch of other military applications, including electronic avionics, a whole raft of issues. And all of this stuff is hidden in plain sight. To me, it's very, very unusual that any conspiracy researchers missed any of this, because when you look at the founders of SiriusXM, this is the transvestite Jew. Her name is, and I say this liberally because when I say her, she was originally a man who cut her penis off in the 1990s before it was popular. Her name is Martin Rothblatt. And there was another co-founder, David Margulies, Israeli Jew. He was one of the main guys rolling out prototype mobile phones in Canada. David Margulies is in the NASA Hall of Fame for his work with satellite radio and satellite communications. And the other founder of SiriusXM is a man named Robert Briskman. He was a founding member of NASA in 1959, and he came out of the army. And while he was working in the army, he was also working with IBM on very early computer coding in the 1950s. And all of these people, David Margulies, Robert Briskman, and Martin Rothblatt, all have space industry awards for the role they've played with NASA and other space foundations from a very, very early period, all the way forwards to now. So without further ado, I've made this introduction as best as I can in my slightly tipsy pre-Christmas state. Thanks, Beardy. And let us roll with the show, because this is a complete expose of the blasphemous technocracy that has been staring us in the face for decades now. The technocracy which is coming upon us as people. The founders of SiriusXM, the popular radio station, the only satellite radio station of America, which nearly all rock stars in America are slaves to. This has been rolling out since the early 1990s, and the technocratic agenda that they're pushing via the use of popular culture and high technology from their satellites and the deep state and the military industrial complex. All of this found its roots in SiriusXM and the people that led into this revolution in satellite technology and its application to popular culture. So let's roll here. Let's talk some facts with SiriusXM. How about the modern day? In 2022, SiriusXM had a monopoly. When I say monopoly, there's no other satellite radio communications companies in USA. Technically, this is against US law, right? So SiriusXM holding a monopoly on satellite radio entertainment over USA is against US law. And around about the year 2007, this was achieved by SiriusXM and another satellite radio station merging. And basically these people knew this was a legal problem, but they went ahead anyway. And they argued that because they also had internet radio, that they weren't a monopoly, because by having internet radio as well as satellite radio, they weren't monopolizing the airwaves. So there is complete spectrum dominance of satellite radio popular culture in Canada, America, and Central America from all the satellites with SiriusXM. Now, if you think about their call sign, SiriusXM, so we have AM radio, FM radio. The space radio call sign is XM. So before Elon Musk was popular, SiriusXM was already using the X as part of their space brand. So the reality is, when it comes to the SpaceX brand, that brand was already taken up and it was already being used in popular culture by SiriusXM. So let's look at the bottom line of what SiriusXM is actually making in money in today's dollars. So in 2022, its revenue was $9 billion. It made $1.2 billion of profit, and it owned $11 billion worth of assets. It's bought up Pandora's streaming service online. It's bought up SoundCloud. SiriusXM is the largest audio entertainment company in USA. It's a paid audio entertainment company with 34 million subscribers in America, Canada, and Central America. And the current president of SiriusXM is Scott Greenstein. I won't mention what heritage he's from, but this man worked, before he got into SiriusXM, he worked at the top of Hollywood for years in various roles. He was an executive producer for Steven Spielberg on some of his movies. So we can all conclude what kind of people are running SiriusXM. Now, if we go back to the founders of SiriusXM, 2 of the 3 co-founders were Jewish, and Martin Rothblatt is the most famous of these Jews. The other co-founder of SiriusXM, Robert Briskman, was a founder of NASA with a very strong military background, and he also worked for IBM. So, as we can see, the popular entertainment satellite channel, SiriusXM, is pretty much owned and run by a certain group of people. Don't mention them. We'll get done for anti-Semitic. Beardy, don't mention what tribe they come from, because I don't want my Christmas and New Year's ruined by mentioning the anti-Semitism. We don't want to get done for anti-Semitism here. Even though it's obvious, if you look into this, you'll get done for it. If you mention the truth on your channel, they do you for anti-Semitism. So going a little bit back into the past, the founder of SiriusXM was a very early transgender Jew by the name of Martin Rothblatt. And Martin Rothblatt is a super tranny Jew. And this is no word of lie. Like, she's just super tranny Jew. Martin Rothblatt chopped off her dick in 1994 or 1996, depending on which article you read. But sometime in the mid-1990s, she decided she was like the wrong gender. So she got in before most other people did it and just like had the deed done. Strangely enough, Martin Rothblatt is a man with a family. And Martin Rothblatt has got a thing for people of the African heritage, because she keeps having children with how do I say this? Martine, before she decided to chop her male organs off, kept breeding with Africans. And so all her children are mixed race African Jews. She's got 4 children that are all African Jews, and one of them, she's got children from various. Look, I'll put it to you guys bluntly. How do I say this politely? Before Martine Rothblatt decided that she was a woman, she just was like, she was a mud shark. She just was like, she was just like after the African booty. One of their sons has run for a Congress a few times as this Africanized Jew dude who believes in... This is just like... I sound like I'm crazy talking about this. Like, seriously. Like, her son has run for Congress on the Democratic platform a few times, like, as this futuristic African Jew, like, crazy person. And already my Christmas special sounds like I'm crazy because I'm actually discussing the truth about the founders of SiriusXM. SiriusXM, as a satellite radio monopoly over large parts of the earth, it went on to secure installation deals with BMW, Chrysler, Ford, GM, Honda, Toyota, and by 2017, 75% of all new cars have got SiriusXM installed in them. This includes trucks, boats, and there's an extra deal with aircrafts where SiriusXM doesn't just have their radio installed as an entertainment device, but because SiriusXM is also very deeply tied in with the military industrial complex and NASA, like a lot of aircraft weather warning systems, as well as their navigational devices, I kind of like have tied in SiriusXM software. And SiriusXM also has special subscription deals with the US military all over the globe. So if you are US military and you're fighting wars in Afghanistan, Iraq, or if you're down here in Australia in Pine Gap, their satellite radio is like streaming to your military base. And this is where it gets really interesting, because as part of this military deal with NASA, it is a primary entry point for the American Emergency Alert System. Now, this is really interesting because SiriusXM has a special deal with FEMA, where if there are military or national emergencies, the American military, American Congress, FEMA, or national emergency groups have got access to basically hijack the civilian broadcasts of this radio station and broadcast their own transmissions over the civilian network. So that if a national emergency gets declared, all these basically federal groups, the military, the Congress, FEMA, these federal groups, they've got a deal that they can hijack the civilian communications and they can broadcast their own military or FEMA or emergency communications over the civilian network. This is really interesting because they have special area message servicing where these broadcasts that they put out are encoded with digital encryption signals that send out special messaging to whatever, whether it's military or FEMA or emergency. So those systems pulse out these pulse digital messages that are just basically sound like rapid pulse sound waves, but digital encoders within these military or FEMA systems pick the sound waves up, and they can decode that over this civilian radio band, and they can actually communicate within the system, the civilian system, and send a lot of very detailed information. And this is where it gets really interesting. FEMA has special radio studios in USA equipped with this emergency broadcasting system, and all these studios have military-grade supplies, filtration systems. They are designed to withstand chemical, biological, nuclear assaults, and the entire system is part of a bigger network known as FEMA National Radio System. So this is massive, because one of the main pop culture networks in USA is deeply tied into NASA, FEMA, the military. It's like literally baked into the equation. The light entertainment that you people are hearing at home on your radio, if you're part of listening to satellite radio in America, and you're listening to all your favorite rock stars like Snoop Dogg, Willie Nelson, Alice Cooper, Pantera, Metallica, all the rest, all these guys who are being promoted on this radio station, they are part of, like, literally part of this deep state military NASA grid. There's these satellites above America, and they're all tied in. The moment a national emergency is declared in America, your popular radio will get taken over. And these FEMA, the military, and various other organizations, including Congress, will be using this system to pulse out propaganda, digital encrypted signaling, everything. And it's like you guys who are all paying for your SiriusXM subscriptions at home, you're all paying for this. You're paying to be part of this very deep state military industrial network of communication that is also deeply tied up in your entertainment industry. While you guys are sitting at home listening to basketball, the NBA, the NBA, baseball, NASCAR, all the major sports in America are all tied in. They've all got deals through SiriusXM. So this crosses over entertainment, rock and roll, all the major sporting bodies. You're looking at an entire full spectrum dominance of your entertainment through the military industrial complex, through Congress, through everything is all tied into this one, basically this SpaceX group that existed before SpaceX. Now, let's really dig into who is launching the SiriusXM satellites here. So the special receiver systems and the systems for receiving and broadcasting, they're all launched from Kazakhstan. Of all places, they're not getting these satellites that are broadcasting SiriusXM. They're not getting launched from America. They're getting launched from Kazakhstan. Borat. Borat. They're getting launched from Kazakhstan. And all the recent satellites are being launched by Elon Musk's SpaceX. So SiriusXM existed before SpaceX. And all their satellites now are being launched by SpaceX from Kazakhstan. Borat. Yeah, that's why you're meant to laugh at Borat. He's part of this whole deal. And you're meant to laugh at that. You're meant to think Kazakhstan's funny. Well, Kazakhstan is the nation. They're building a very centralized part of the New World Order, with its pyramids, with its Astana, with all this crazy stuff. It's the place they're launching all these satellites. Now, when you look at SiriusXM, who's the main broadcasters there? Well, you got Alice Cooper's got his own show there. This is the way SiriusXM sells itself as just a popular front for popular entertainment and culture. Alice Cooper is a regular presenter. He has his own show. Snoop Dogg has his own show. There's a Willie Nelson show. When Pantera reformed, there's a whole heavy metal station on SiriusXM called Liquid Metal. When Pantera reformed, Liquid Metal renamed itself. They changed the name of their station for 1 week to Pantera Radio. All they played was Pantera. And this was all just before Pantera was touring, with only 2 original members, might I add. Now, I'm a heavy metal fan, and I find this particularly sad because basically Phil Anselmo and Rex Brown, the bassist from Pantera, they took the shekels. They took the money because this was a massive boost to Pantera to be massively promoted by SiriusXM. And these guys didn't really need this promotion, but it was a massive amount of money and free promotion for the band. When Phil Anselmo was on tour, there was an infamous bit of footage put onto social media where the 2 deceased members from Pantera, the Abbott brothers, the drummer and the guitarist from Pantera, they were both proud Southern Confederates who often displayed the Confederate flag in public. Now, there was a moment where a member of the crowd, seeing the new reformed Pantera, waved a Confederate flag in remembrance of the Abbott brothers. And Phil Anselmo absolutely blasted them. And this member of the crowd waving a Confederate flag of the dearly loved and deceased Abbott brothers. Phil Anselmo, the sellout member of Pantera, he went to town. He said, "Put that away. That's racist. We don't want that shit here." Well, everybody kind of said, well, he's forgotten the past of his band. No, Phil Anselmo always was a sellout Satanist. He took the money from SiriusXM to do the reunion show and have all that promotion. He took the money to have the heavy metal channel on SiriusXM renamed the Pantera radio channel.
Mr. Anton Crowley.
And let's not forget, while the Abbott brothers were just mere redneck Southerners who were proud of their heritage, and fair play to them on that, if that's who they wanted to be. That's their life, and I respect that. Whereas Phil Anselmo, he married a Jew on the night of Samhain, which is a pagan sacrifice night, and he married a Jew named Stephanie Opal Weinstein. And I believe Samhain that's basically Halloween. That's it's the autumn solstice. And he married it with a whole bunch of satanic stuff and a satanic priest. So when we look at the SiriusXM metal channel, this is just digging the surface of SiriusXM radio, which was set up by Jews, the military, and NASA, and the US deep state. Who is the main guy running Liquid Metal, the heavy metal station on SiriusXM? There's a man named Ian Christie. He is author of a book called Sound of the Beast, The Complete History of Headbanging. This is an encyclopedia of heavy metal. And if you look at the cover of this book, Sound of the Beast, it's a very demonic cover. Obviously this book and this whole historical look at heavy metal completely neglects the whole Christian side of heavy metal. I'm a Christian heavy metal fanatic. There's a very strong Christian side to hard rock and heavy metal. This always gets completely overlooked in the mainstream. SiriusXM is mainstream. It's not just fairly well-known Christian bands like Striper. There's a really strong history of Christian punk, heavy metal, and hard rock from all over the world. These Christian bands nearly always get completely overlooked. But this satanic book is the authorized history of heavy metal in many US universities. It's been translated into multiple languages, nearly a dozen, including Japanese, Italian, Spanish. So here we have SiriusXM. The entire heavy metal department is being run by a completely biased Satanist who has written a heavy metal encyclopedia that's just based around the most debauched and satanic elements of heavy metal. So here we see exactly the kind of the social agenda being pushed merely by one department of SiriusXM. The heavy metal department is it's the most satanic and low moral version of heavy metal that can be pushed. Once again, I'll just add that they do have Alice Cooper on board, who's he's sort of what's the word? Christian light. he's like a token Christian. He's not in any way hardcore or traditional Christian like myself or many millions of Christians around the world. So this is just a very, very shallow dive into SiriusXM. Also, Beardy brought up a band called Devil Driver, who was also very heavily promoted on there. And what do you have to say about Devil Driver, Beardy?
Oh, the singer Des Farfara in an interview admitted that he's a Freemason.
Oh, but yeah, masonry and metal. Now, this is really interesting because the SiriusXM, their metal department is actually handled by a sub-department called Dish Network, which is a whole very big company in itself. They're based in Douglas County, Colorado, and this is an unincorporated county of Colorado. And it's really funny because a lot of leading metal personalities, including James Hetfield from Metallica, now live in Colorado, or at least in the surrounding states. Dave Mustaine from Megadeth lives in Arizona, which is right next door to Colorado. And it's really interesting because heavy metal, of all the modern liberal pop music genres, is basically kind of one of the more traditional and based genres. And it's kind of really weird because if you look at where Dish Network, the corporation that deals with heavy metal for SiriusXM, is Douglas County is 92% white, and it's either the 7th or 8th highest income listed counties in USA, and the average family there is earning well over $80,000 a year. It's also the state with a massive Republican stronghold. Mitt Romney had 62% of the vote there, and it was recently judged by US News and World Report to be the second healthiest county overall in USA, financially, emotionally, and in all other ways. This is really weird. I'm going to jump back to what I said before. Is strangely enough, even though heavy metal to an outsider seems like one of the most flamboyant and crazy music genres, it is actually psychological studies have proven that's one of the more conservative and based genres of popular music. If you want really crazy, where people are just full globo homo and kind of insane, you just look at pop music, techno culture, rave culture, house music culture. All those people are just off tap, crazy, globo homo, faggot. They're just fucked. So it's really weird because you're looking here at this whole metal subculture just within SiriusXM, and it's being run as a military industrial scale business with its own separate kind of corporation, Dish Network, who also own Boost Mobile, by the way. It's a whole massive thing. This is the military industrial complex dividing up our pop music culture. There will be various branches of the military industrial complex devoted to running hip hop, to running house, to running gay culture. So right, yeah, this is the crazy world of this kind of modern pop culture that SiriusXM runs, is where they're dividing up all the different rock stars and cultures into geographic locations, into mindsets, into it's just crazy, right? You know, SiriusXM, they have over 150 radio stations. They're catering from everyone to gangster rappers to basically Zionist Christians to country and Western fans. This is full spectrum dominance by the military industrial complex of your popular culture via satellite, but via the X Factor, via the stars. You're right. You know, these people are beaming down from the stars, your culture, into your suburban home, and you're paying for this. You're paying for this. And at the same time, SiriusXM is deeply tied into all of NASA, the military industrial complex, FEMA, just the sports networks. This is a whole thing in itself, and nobody talks about this. In this talk here today, I have only just scratched the surface. I could probably talk about 3 or 4 hours. But as part of your Christmas and New Year's special, we thought we'd just roll this out. This is just the tip of the iceberg. And our next one, we're going to tackle Martine Rothblatt, the super tranny Jew, one of the main founders of SiriusXM. And we're going to look at her incredible and deranged career and lifespan here on planet Earth. Having said that, God bless you all. Thanks for tuning in. Myself and Beardy, God be with you. Christ is risen. Do not forget. Amen. Bless you, your family, your loved ones. Over and out.